All right, can everyone see?
Yes.
All right, cool. So the what Wagn is a Ruby on Rails floss program web service that creates. Uh, it's a sort of a it's billed as a wiki, but I think it's way more powerful than a wiki. And the way that it becomes powerful is it puts all the data into cards, and so every single piece of data is a card. There's one data type, and that's card. So right now we're looking at the home card, which is set to be on the root, the home page. And if we go and edit the card, you can see there's a little WYSIWYG editor, and it says like you can just have text in it. And then you can have with double curly brackets, you can um, ask for cards, and with double square brackets, you can link to cards. Uh, and so I'm linking to the card tasks, which is a card type, and then I have a card that filters all those cards that it returns. So it just shows me the ones that are in process. It gets a little convoluted, and and this is the hard part because I haven't figured out a really good way to describe all this. But essentially, what I have is by creating. Well, let's hold on. Let's go through just like the most general. I can create a new card and call it whatever I want, and then every card has a name, a type, and then content within it. So this is creating a basic card type. I can create an HTML, which just gives me flat HTML. I can just put any kind of HTML in here. I have card types that I've created like ideas, which has a space to put related cards in. And if I start typing something like organize all bookmarks, that will be added as a related. Then I can give it a description. I have tasks, or I have projects, and and all of these options you're seeing are just other cards with certain properties set to them. So the status card has a little helper text, which is just another card that's associated with statuses. Um, there's a card for related, which allows me to have it's very data or what's it called? I can query all card types of a certain type and put them into other cards. So I can find cards that relate to each other by depending on what is put in this related tag. Um, and what else I got? And then there's tasks, and tasks have open, close, block, and process status, which are these are just four different cards. There's an open card, a closed card, a block card, and process card, and they can all be status attached to statuses. So let me just show you some of the things I've built. I built a task management system with this, where all my tasks cards are being displayed on this page, and I've put them as sorted them by their status. So there's in process, and then there's the priority, which is the next sorting uh, between urgent, high, normal, what have you. And then each of these is just the same as another card that you can open up inside. So let's say my Chase account, I've actually closed this, so I can change the status card to closed, and now it's closed, and you can see that it has related tasks, and that's just because this parent task close chase account is referenced in the related card type of this other task, and so it shows up here. And then you can also see the related projects, because the closed chase account is related to personal, which is a project, and then all the related tasks in personal are here, and you can just see how this can just keep going down and down and down. So that's generally it, I guess. One cool thing that I did was created this timer widget, and so this is the timer widget the timer widget content card, which is connected to my user account on here, and I've just given it a list of other cards that I want it to show. So I have a card for each day, and then each day of the week has tasks assigned to it. So I can do something really cool where, when in certain view contexts, I can strip away the header and the layout pieces and create this little guy, which is a card that has an iframe to Slim Timer, which is my timer software. And then it also pulls in this card here, the Drew Hornbein plus task timer widget plus content, and it shows it here, so I can be tracking my time in this nifty little sidebar, which is a Firefox thing, and I can open up the day of the week and see what tasks I've set up for myself. So that's the 2-cent 2-bit 2-cent tour. It's like, I don't know, it took me about 3 days of really digging into this to where it finally clicked, but there's something very powerful about this, something that I haven't personally seen in other systems before. Just the ease of creating content and then giving that content sort of data structures that can then be used to do powerful things like pull in other content types that have related tags and names and things like that.
I think it's awesome because it pulls in context for each thing. My
Right.
2 questions that I put in the sidebar are, can you do dependencies? So this card, when it's marked as blocked, can you link it to a task that has to be solved before it can be unblocked?
Probably the limitations I found, it doesn't have good, I can't sort things by I can't make dates in stuff and sort it by dates, but I could. Let's see. I can set the status to blocked, and then I could do something like, show me all the cards that are blocked, and I could make another one of these, what's called a plus card. So this is just a card that is attached to a parent card. So organized bookmark so status is a card on its own. We can just go and visit the status card, which is nothing.
Yeah.
And then status plus, or organized bookmarks plus status, is a card that is attached to organized bookmarks. I can say, show me all the cards that have a status with the content of blocked, and I can make another card that said, parent or dependency, and then it could just list the dependency of all blocked status cards, or it could list the dependency of all, So it's possible to do stuff like that. I mean, the task management stuff is not something that it was designed to do. This is just something that I've very easily hacked together um, because of the atomized nature of all the data.
The other question that I had was, is this, so it looks like uh, you showed us both local host, but also um, that you were accessing it via the internet. So I assume that other people can see it. Would it be possible to also have a card type that was who is on the project or on that card? So like
Yeah.
having multiple people who assign themselves to one task or that are or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, so every user has a card, and this this is cool. Yeah, this is so I'm actually showing you my online version, which is at wiki.dhornbein.com, and I've set and there's very good permissioning, so I can tell it that only logged in people can see certain things, and if a card is embedded within another card, but you don't have the privileges to view it, it'll actually just like totally not show up. So this is my profile page, and this is all like I can double click this picture and change the image, and this is just another card that is an image card type that just accepts an image. Uh, and then my user account can be associated with other cards, or um, I think this might be set up. So I've done this, so if my name is a plus card on another card, it will. I don't know. I haven't built it, but it can take you can make user cards affect different things. So you can have task lists for people, and you can say like, give me a list of all the users and put it in a multiple select box, and then you can select all the people who are involved with the person um, is associated with. So yes.
That's it for my questions. And
Um, so Drew, what do you, where do you hope to take this? Is this something that you expect to be useful mostly as a personal thing, or are you grooming this for a wider audience?
Well, the reason I got involved with it is because friend, um, my friends are building this site called nycprepared.org. I put a link in the chat, and they're using the Wagn as a knowledge base. So in their like use case, they have tools, and that's a card type, and you can fill out. You add the picture of the logo of the tool and whatnot, and then and information about the tool, and then the tools can be associated with workflows, and those workflows can be associated with different types of disasters. So you get this like system where the the data is you never repeat yourself. You never have to make the same content on a card twice. So you can just say, oh, pull the Drupal card in whenever whenever a project needs Drupal. Um, so there's working on the knowledge base for NYC Prepared, and I also
Mm-hmm.
see it as like something that could potentially be very useful for teams. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if you're so like for instance on the NYC Prepared knowledge base, it for logged in users there can be this task management system kind of built
Mm-hmm.
in, uh, and then the task management system can actually run through workflows. So I see it as a collaborative tool of like a wikiing tool that has project management. And then of course like what I haven't gotten into yet is the API for this is all it's all you can do everything through URLs. So I could set up a bridge between the Twilio API that automatically creates a task in
Mm-hmm.
in my Wagn. So I'm using it primarily as uh, uh, personal management, but
Yeah.
It's all like I'm just like using that as a way to learn the system because their roadmap is they're nearing version 2, which
Uh-huh.
is it's moving from I guess they're saying that's moving from just like an application to more of a platform, and then the next version 3 they want to see it as where it can be networked, where you can share cards between wagons, um, and it all
Hmm.
fits into my dream of federated knowledge management systems. And
Have you looked at Ward Cunningham's smallest federated wiki?
no,
You might, just out of interest in this topic. It's So Ward Cunningham is credited as the originator of the concept of a wiki.
hmm
Wrote one of the first widely used wikis, C2. Um, and his current thing that he's working on is this federated wiki, which seems structurally very similar to what Wagn is doing, although different architecture under the hood, I guess. Um,
sure.
and I haven't seen much. I've been following the federated wiki for a couple of years now, and it hasn't seemed like it's moved very much. So I don't know what the status of that project or that idea is. Another thing that strikes me about seeing Wagn, it reminds me a lot of the way Drupal organizes itself with nodes.
Right.
So in Drupal, there's kind of like everything is a node in the way that with Wagn everything is a card.
hmm
And something that's always been both exciting and problematic to me about Drupal, it's this sort of Minecrafty, like we have these blocks and everything's reduced to these blocks that we can construct crazy shapes in, but everything you build ends up being very blocky.
hmm
And so I worry about that with something like Wagn too, that so like if you were going to use Basecamp as your project management software, everything is extremely slick and extremely refined and extremely fine-tuned toward one specific purpose, which
Right.
means you can't really well adapt it to whatever use case you want, but it's very well suited for tackling the use case of project management, as long as you do project management the way they think about project management.
Yeah.
But then with something like Wagn, people that are using it have to wrap their head around the infrastructure to a certain extent and wrap their head around the concepts of cards and how to assemble cards and how to build a project management system, essentially, in order to use that as a project management system.
Right.
At some point, you could reduce it down to something like all you need is a shared document, like an Etherpad or a Google Doc, and that can be your project management system if you build enough convention and enough structure into how you edit that document.
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things is that because it can pull in data, you could, if you structured it properly, you could just write scripts that would create it. The thing that's interesting to me is that, you know, in Wagon Land they have the users, but also Wagoneers. So I would consider myself a Wagoneer because like I'm back there tinkering, but to the end user, like my project management system is click this blue link that says add a project. You get presented with a form that tells
uh,
you what to fill in. You fill it all in, and then the task or the project is created.
right.
Um,
So
so
I guess what's interesting to me is there's this sort of liminal space between let me write 4 sentences in a Google Doc saying answer these 4 questions, copy
mhm,
and paste this block in order to do your task. Between that and having a form that you've constructed in a card, which is slightly more structured. Um, and I guess we're all hunting for like that sweet spot of adequately structured but not over structured, and adequately flexible but still somewhat directive.
mhm.
Um, and so I'm really excited to see you working on this, and I'm curious to see how it turns out in terms of finding a balance within that flexible space.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
a developer myself, writing mostly very structured web apps, I've been very frustrated working with Drupal in the past just because of how messy things get when everything is a node, and then people start building these Byzantine structures on top of the nodes.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'd be curious to see if if Wagn ends up turning into an unmaintainable mess once you have like this complicated thing set out, and then Wagoneers of various skills start building their own, uh, maybe not completely thoroughly conceived structures on top of that.
Yeah, I'm not sure because it's not in my background, but I
Yeah.
think that what I've seen is it's remarkably easy. You know, if you need to change a name, you can just like change the name. Everything in the site that's linked to it changes automatically.
Mhm.
What's been very useful for me is, I built out a little task management thing, and then I realized, oh, you know what? It'd be nice to capture how many hours I worked on this task.
Mhm.
All I do is add an hour to the template for the the task template, and then every single task card all of a sudden has a little hour thing that I can click
Mhm.
and add data to, and
Cool.
it's automatically it's there. So that's what really kind of got my attention with it
Yeah.
in those terms. Well,
Awesome.
cool. If
For
you
me,
guys,
this for me this reminds me of Excel a lot. Like lots of accountants have these really complicated Excel documents, spreadsheets that do just what they want, and this seems to be a wiki equivalent to this.
yeah, maybe I think so. Sure.
Thanks for the intro.
I
Yeah,
like
my
it.
pleasure. Yeah, and I'll let you guys know. I'm hopefully going to get more, involved with the people who are building it, and once I really just want to sit down with them and ask them all like all these questions that I have. So
Right.
see, see how that goes.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you all.